Hello students, in this video we will learn the topic outcomes of democracy, standard 10th, civics. We will cover all subtopic in this video. And the subtopics are features of democracy, why do we need to think about the outcomes of democracy, which things we need to understand the outcomes of the democracy, outcomes in the various aspect like accountable, responsive and legitimate government, economic growth and development, economic outcomes of democracy, a reduction of inequality and poverty, accommodation of social diversity, dignity and freedom of the citizen. Now let's begin with the first topic, features of democracy. So democracy, the basic features of democracy are it promotes equality among citizens. Means if it is democratic nation or democracy, then it promotes equality among all the citizens. Enhance the dignity of individual. Democracy enhance the dignity of individual. Democracy improve the quality of decision making. Everywhere, if it is democracy, so it improve the quality of decision making. Democracy provides a method to resolve conflict. Democracy allows room to correct mistakes. These are five major features of democracy. Now, which are the merits and demerits of democracy? We'll look first merits of democracy. People are their own masters. Equal and exact justice for all. Government not by force because it is by choice, by people choice. And fewer conflicts are very few, but there are few demerits of democracy. Demerits are slow and inefficient government because they have to consult each and everyone. Unstable government, role of money in a democracy, and incompetences. So these are the merits and demerits of democracy. Now we'll compare democracy with dictatorship. So which are the merits of dictatorship? In dictatorship, person or that government or that particular nation can take a quick and decisive decision. Efficiency is more, national unity and stability. These are the merits point, advantage, or these are the most important points of merits in dictatorship. But there are few demerits as well. Wrong decision taken by the dictator in most of the cases, violence at home, suppression of civil liberties because it is dictatorship, no civil liberties. So the question is that why do we need to think about the outcomes of democracy? Why we need this? So let's begin why we need the to think about the outcomes of democracy. Over 100 countries of the world today claim and practice some kind of democratic politics. They have formal constitutions, they hold election, they have parties and guarantee the rights of the citizens because these are the actual features of democracy. So the features of democracy may be different from one country to another country based on their socio-economic and cultural background. Everywhere, democracy is not common. Everywhere, democracy, the features of democracy are totally different. Most of the people support democracy against other alternatives, such as rule by the monarchy, military dictatorship or military or religious leaders. But so many of them would not be satisfied with the democracy in practice, but most of them, they are not satisfied with the democracy which is there in the practice. So we face a dilemma. Democracy is seen good in principle, but not good in practice. Means by principle, it is very good, but while taking its practice, it is not good. This dilemma invite us the outcome of democracy. Then which things we need to understand before the evaluation of outcome of democracy? Things are: first step towards thinking carefully about the outcome of the democracy is to recognize that democracy is just a form of government. It can only create conditions for achieving something. The citizens have to take advantages of those conditions and achieve goal. Then which are the major areas used for to analyze the outcomes of the democracy? So first, it should be accountable, it should be responsive and legitimate government to the people. Every democracy should be accountable, it should be responsive and it should be legitimate. Economic growth and development, that government should work for economic growth and development. Reduction of inequality and poverty, this is more important part. Reduction of inequality and poverty, accommodation of social diversity and dignity and freedom of citizens, these are the major areas. How does democracy can produce an accountable, responsive and legitimate government? We'll discuss one point here. So first, how does democracy can produce an accountable, responsive and legitimate government? Most outcome of democracy should be that it produces a government that is accountable to the citizen and responsive to their needs and expectation of the citizen. In democracy, people have the right to choose their representative who would form the government. People also have control over their representatives as they are answerable to the citizens for the policy implemented. They participate in the decision making process either directly or indirectly through their elected representatives. The citizens, they have the right to know them before they followed. So these are the important points related with accountable, responsive and legitimate government. This ensures that the working of the government is transparent and the opposition parties can also question and criticize the government policies because it is available in democracy. They keep a check on ruling party and make sure that it does not misuse power. These measures ensure that the government formed is accountable and responsive to the needs of the people. A democratic government is a legitimate government. It is a government of the people. All the voters can choose their representatives. The winning political party forms the government, but in the non-democratic country, the people, they have no choice in political parties. They need to accept the rule of a person or a party. This makes democracy better as it gives people the option to choose their representative. Then, the next part, what is the meaning of transparency of political party? So the citizen have the right to examine the process of decision making. Means every people are having that right to examine the process of decision making, and this is known as a transparency. Economic growth and development in democratic form of government. Which are the economic? Where is the economic growth and development in democratic form of government? The people, they were expected from democracy to produce good government, but in practical level, many democracies did not fulfill this expectation. In the last 50 years, to compare with democracy, dictatorship have slightly higher rate of economic growth. But because of this reason, we can't judge democracy because the economic development depends on several factors like population, global situation, cooperation from other countries, economic priorities adopted by the country. However, we can't say that democracy is guarantee of economic development, but we can expect democracy not to lag behind dictatorship in this respect. To compare with both dictator and democratic development, it is better to prefer democracy as it has several other positive reasons. So now we'll take few examples from the textbook. It is statistical comparison between democracy and dictatorship. So types of regimes and country, the growth rate is also mentioned. Inequality of the selected countries. So reduction of equality and poverty now. More than economic development, it is reasonable to expect democracies to reduce economic disparities. Democracies are based on political equality. All individuals have equal weight in electing representative, but in the economic sphere, growing economic inequalities. A small number of ultra-rich enjoy highly disproportionate share of wealth and income. As a result, the national income of the country is increasing. But the bottom of the society, their income declining, they find it difficult to meet their basic needs: food, clothing, house, education, and health. In actual life, democracy do not appear to be very successful in reducing economic inequalities. The political parties, they will not like to lose the votes of large section poor people in constituencies. However, the democratically elected government do not appear to be as keen to address the question of poverty as you would expect them to. The situation is much worse in some other countries, especially in Bangladesh. More than half of its population lives in poverty. People in several poor countries are now dependent on the rich countries even for food supplies. So this is the actual point related reduction of equality and poverty. Now, accommodation of social diversity. What are the conditions under which democracies accommodate social diversity? It will be a fair expectation that democracy should produce a harmonious social life. Democracies usually develop a procedure to conduct their competition. It would reduce the possibility of tension. No society can fully and permanently resolve conflict among different groups. Democracy is the most suitable form of government for to produce this outcome. Non-democratic regimes often turn blind eye to suppress internal social differences. Ability to handle social difference and division and conflicts is the merit of democratic regimes. But democracy must fulfill two conditions to achieve this outcome. There should be two conditions to achieve this outcome. First condition is that it is necessary to understand that democracy is not simply ruled by majority opinion. It is not the simply ruled by majority opinion. The majority always needs to work with the minority so that government function to represent the general view. It is very important part. So majority and minority opinions are not permanent in democratic politics. Second point, it is also necessary that rule by the majority does not become rule by the majority community in terms of religion or race or linguistic group. Rule by the majority means that in case of every decision or in case of every election, different persons and groups may and can form the majority. Democracy remains democracy only as long as every citizen has a chance of being majority at some point of time. And if someone is barred in majority on the basis of birth, then the democratic rule ceases to be accommodative for the person or that group. So these are the two conditions which is very effective in democracy. Dignity and freedom of citizen examined with the help of three examples. Now, dignity and freedom of citizens are best guaranteed in democracy. So, let's take the example. Example 1. In the case of women, for a long time, they were denied equal rights, justice, dignity, and freedom. But democracy has ensured all these to women, and now the principle of individual freedom and dignity has a legal as well as moral force. This is the first example. In second example, in case of the weaker section of the society like SC, ST, and OBC, special provisions have been made for the uplift so that they can live with dignity and honor and lead a free life. They are now allowed to vote and choose their representative in the government. No particular reason or language is given any special preference. Third, in the case of conflicts among various groups are minimized by given all of them advocate representation the government. It is also ensured that the rule of the majority is not only those who are in majority just in number. The majority group need to work in harmony with the minority group to ensure that interest and concern of every group are represented in the government.